Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's podcast with me, Gail from Sober Bliss. And today I am talking to the absolutely wonderful Maggie Klaassens, and she's here to tell us all about a really exciting event that's coming up very soon. But first of all, welcome, Maggie. It's so good to have you.
Thank you so much, Gail, for having me. This is an honor.
Oh, it's so nice. We've chatted before, and we'll tell everybody about that in a minute. But first of all, um, welcome. And if you wouldn't mind sharing with our audience a little bit about the event that you're hosting, that you're organizing. But first of all, what led you here? Why are you here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Why am I here?
I
Right?
know.
Um, yeah, so I created an event called the Sober Summit because I am almost 1 year sober. And
Oh,
when I
wow.
say sober, it's funny because sober has such a bad stigma attached to it, right? I think you think of somebody lying on a park bench or being in recovery or, hitting rock bottom. That's not what happened to me at all. I took my first sip of alcohol when I was a freshman in high school. It was a Miller High Life and it was disgusting. And, I kind of pushed the limits in high school a little bit as I got older, just kind of, doing a little bit more naughty things, pushing the envelope, seeing how far I could push my parents, rebelling a bit.
Mm.
We moved my senior year of high school from Michigan all the way to Washington State. And that's a pretty far, if you're not familiar with the United States, that's all the way to the West Coast. My senior year of high school.
Wow.
And in that year, I really pushed the boundaries a lot. I was really rebellious. So I was sneaking out at night. We were drinking. At that point, there were wine coolers, which tasted like, soda, basically. That, we used to pop Jolly Ranchers in them, different flavored Jolly Ranchers into sky blue vodkas to make them different flavors. And, they tasted great. And I went off to college and I continued to drink. In college, I feel like there's also a stigma of partying, going to frat parties, and just going to the bar. They always had deals at the bars for all the college kids. They were making a lot of money. We used to drink, I forget what they're called now, but there used to be a big bowl of a drink, and again, a very sugary drink, and they would put straws around it and everyone from the table would drink this ginormous,
Like a
you know
punch.
yes, like a punch. But it was, and you got drunk very quickly. And we used to drink vodka Red Bulls. And so I partied hard in college, and there were definitely some instances of things that happened that, I was ashamed of and that were dangerous, and, situations that I didn't feel comfortable being in. And looking back now, that's scary. But
Mm.
I partied hard in college, and then afterwards I think my body was like, this is enough. And I stopped drinking vodka and tequila, any sort of spirits. I stopped drinking beer for the most part, and
Right.
really just stuck to wine. And in my head, that was healthy, that
Yeah.
was sophisticated, that was, you know, the right choice, right? I wasn't drinking during the day. I was only drinking at night. My dad in Washington State had a small vineyard, and I
Oh.
went to school for hospitality business management. And I even took a whole course on alcohol, how you make beer and wine and spirits. And in that class, one of the very last classes that they picked two of the students. I was not one of them, but they picked a girl and a boy to go to the bar, get completely wasted, and come back to class. And they brought a cop in, and they did all the tests that you would do to see how inebriated somebody is. Um,
Oh.
this is a course I took in college, right? This is like, how else can you glamorize,
Yeah.
drinking? So yeah, I went to school for hospitality business management. I worked in hotels and marketing for a long time. I had always wished I had gone into the wine industry. I loved wine. I loved going to a wine store and reading labels and watching wine documentaries, and because my dad was making wine, I felt like wine was very much a piece of who I was.
Mm.
So fast forward, I have kids, COVID hits, and I find myself at home without a job. Of course, the hospitality industry got hit very hard with the pandemic. So overnight, I lost my job,
Yeah.
and I was at home with three small kids.
Wow.
And, I thought it was going to be a 2-week thing. So we stocked up on alcohol. I remember buying a case of wine, and it was maybe even 2 cases. I think I bought one for each week. And yeah, I think that's when it became like a necessity for me of
Mm-hmm.
I have to have this, and this is my reward because I'm at home all day with the kids and I can't really do anything outside. We didn't have family around to help. And so I was drinking every night, and I realized it was becoming a problem when I started becoming resentful that my husband was downstairs drinking without me when I was doing bedtime or bath time. I
Yeah.
thought that doesn't seem like a very good relationship with alcohol. Like, how can you be mad at him for drinking and you not? That doesn't seem right. So I started questioning, my drinking, and I really tried to moderate. I tried to say, okay, well, I'm not going to drink on weekdays. I'll only drink on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And that I could never actually do that. I maybe did that one time for one day. But, I always found an excuse. The kids were stressing me out, or there's a pandemic happening,
Yeah.
um, or it's raining outside and we're having Italian. And of course you have to have red wine with that. Like, you can't
Mm.
not have it. So, yeah, so I started working with a health coach, and I started questioning my alcohol, and I started consuming all of the quit lit books,
Oh,
and
okay.
I started educating myself on what alcohol does. And I read Annie Grace's This Naked Mind.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of reading it that day, it was our eighth year anniversary, I believe, or 7th year. It was my husband's and mine's anniversary, and we went out to dinner. And I told him, I said, I'm not going to drink tonight. I didn't want it, and
Wow.
I tried very, very hard to make sure I was still smiling and having fun, because I wanted to prove to him that I cannot drink and you can still have fun. We can still have fun if I'm not drinking. And that lasted for a couple of months. I didn't drink for a couple of months, and then at the end of the summer we went on vacation, and it was like that whole vibe of, we're on vacation, why not? And I'm going, yeah, why not? I've done it for a good couple of months, why not?
Mm.
So I drank on that vacation, and I couldn't not drink. Like, I went right back into my old ways of needing it, wanting it every single night. And
Yeah.
so again, fast forward 8 months later, I'm still going, well, I still have this piece of me inside that doesn't want to, and thinks that life could be better. I kept feeling like I was on this hamster wheel, and the same day it was just Groundhog's Day every day. And especially with being with three young kids, and we were still dealing with a lot of the pandemic at that time, with quarantining when the kids were exposed, and
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of stresses that come along with that. And I just felt myself being incredibly irritable with the kids, and
Yeah.
on edge, and thinking about 5 o'clock, like, when does that 5 o'clock hit? And on weekends, it would always be a little bit earlier because it was the weekends. And,
Yeah.
I never drank to get drunk, but it still was a problem because it still took up so much time and energy and space in my head.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that to me is what was a problem. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really like, if you looked on the outside and saw me drink, you wouldn't think I had a problem at all. And I still don't think I had a problem. Like, I never identified with being an alcoholic. But when you think of it being a problem, I think of it being the noise in your head. How much time and energy is being taken up in your head by alcohol, and it was a lot. Or what time is being taken away from my kids. I was rushing through bedtime so I could get downstairs to have a glass of wine before my husband finished, because I didn't want to drink alone, because that was bad. So, it just, I felt like I was a lot dependent on alcohol in my life at that time. So I started consuming podcast episodes of various, sober podcasters. And that helped me a lot, because that for me was everyday consumption of the messaging that life can be so much better without alcohol. And constantly hearing that, I must have binged sober podcasts for a good 3 weeks. And all of a sudden one day I'm ready. I'm done. I'm ready. This is it. And so I last Easter Sunday, we were in church and the priest was talking about Easter being about new beginnings. And I thought, okay, I always find an excuse to drink. Now I'm going to find an excuse not to drink. And this is going to be my excuse not to drink. It's Easter Sunday. It's about new beginnings. This is a sign. I'm going to do it. So I didn't drink that day. And I decided to do a 100-day challenge. And that was great for me, because telling family and friends that I was doing a 100-day challenge there was no question. It was like, okay, Maggie's not drinking for 100 days, not a big deal. Versus saying, okay, I'm not drinking anymore. Then that's when all the questions happen. Well, why? What's wrong? All these questions. So the idea of a 100-day challenge was great, because it gave me this buffer of 100 days where nobody asked questions. They all knew what I was doing. They were super supportive. And then when day 101 hit, I really had the intention of going back. And I woke up and I was like, I'm going to do another 100-day challenge. This is just too good. I feel so much better that I don't want to go back at all. And that's what I started telling people. They'd be like, is your challenge over? And I'm going, no, I feel so good. I don't want to go back. And so the Sober Summit idea came out because I've always been into health and nutrition. And I consume a lot of health and nutrition content in the form of summits. So I've attended, ones on, what, ketogenic ones on, diet, on sugar specifically. There's 2 really well-known sugar summits. And I go, gosh, if there's one on how to remove sugar from your life, there should be one on how to remove alcohol from your life. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll pitch the idea to a few podcasters. They're used to interviewing people, and they could, I could help them actually put it all together, and we could do this. It could be their face, and, I could be on the back end. And so I pitched the idea to a few podcasters, and they, no, we're too busy, but if you do it, we'll be on it. I go, I can't do it. I'm a mom of 3 in Virginia. And nobody knows me. I'm not a sober influencer. I at the time hadn't even told anyone that I wasn't drinking anymore. I told my close family, but I wasn't like preaching about it on social media or anything. And so I kind of sat on the idea for a while, and then I thought, why can't I? Why can't I do it? Everyone talks about all the amazing things that they do in sobriety. Why can't this be my Mount Everest? Why can't this be my marathon? Why can't this be my big thing that I conquer? I mean, talk about jumping outside your comfort zone. This is not part of who I am. But my goal with this summit is to bring all the resources that I used during my early days, all the podcasters, the authors, the experts, the sober influencers that made such a profound difference in my life, and why I'm here I'm getting goosebumps while I'm saying this. Why I'm here today. And I thought, let me put them all together in a virtual summit so that everyone can attend, and bring all these resources together to maybe help somebody else on their journey. And it's not just for people who are sober curious. That's a big part of it, yes. But even people who are already on their journey, I think we can all benefit from that constant messaging of why we're doing this. So whether you're on day 1 or day 1,000, I mean, this really is for everybody to kind of get that jolt of inspiration from our speakers. They have all of our speakers tell their stories. So Gail, you've been on.
I know.
And you tell your amazing story of how you got to where you are today. And then we talk about different topics. So the day is split, or each day, it's a 3-day summit. It starts on April 12th, and each day is dedicated to a different theme. So day 1 is all about alcohol and its effects on our mind, body, and spirit, and even our emotions. So we have Ashley DeLello, who is a mind coach. She talks about the effects of alcohol on our brain. And she's incredible. She's got an incredible story. She's actually a professional dancer. She was on Dancing with the Stars. And so You Can Think You Can Dance. And she went through an incredible severe illness that she's basically about to die, and changed her outlook of her life. Like, her doctors told her that she was not going to make it. And she was like, that's not happening.
Wow.
And she rewired her brain. And now she's this incredible mind coach. And so she's on there. William Porter's on there talking about the effects of alcohol on our sleep, which is so important.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And our cardiovascular system, right? So what happens in our body? We've got Dr. Brooke Scheller, who comes on to talk about how alcohol affects our nutrition goals. So this I really resonated with, because I was big on health and nutrition. I ate healthy, I exercised, and then I drink wine at night, not really thinking about, like, how is this impacting my nutrition goals? I never thought about that. So we talk a lot about how alcohol affects our nutrition goals, and how nutrition can affect our alcohol goals, and how you can use nutrition in sobriety to kind of help get you through that. So who else? We have Amanda Kuda, who is a spiritual expert. So she talks about alcohol's effects on our spirituality. So day 1 is really about our mind, body, and alcohol's effects on that. And then on day 2, we have all the best tips and tricks of how do you actually remove alcohol from your life? Like, what do I do? Okay, I know its effects on it from day 1. Like, now, how do I actually remove it? So Gail, you're on there talking about visualization on how to manage our cravings, which was just such a powerful, powerful interview. I walked away from that, like, immediately going and figuring out my vision board again, right? I've done it before, but like, it's an ongoing process, and it changes as your journey changes. So we also have Sharon Hartley from Over the Influence podcast. She's talking about the importance of connection and alcohol-free communities, which there are so many out there. And so you just kind of have to figure out who your people are, but they're out there. Who else? We have Andy Ramage, who's talking about working with a health coach. Okay. And also becoming a health coach. So again, if you're farther in your journey, he talks about ways that you can give back and become a sober coach as well. And let's see. Oh, Annie Grace. We've got Annie Grace on there. Of course, you can't have a summit without Annie Grace. She's talking about how to physiologically remove the desire to drink, which is what her book is. Yeah, her book is very well known for, like, actually removing that desire to want to drink. And that really, really gives you that freedom that you want. And then on day 3, it's all about normalizing sobriety. And that kind of fits in 2 ways. Like, now that you remove alcohol, how do you fit into society now that you're sober? And then what does the future of sobriety look like? So we've got Matt Pink from Better Life Guy. He's talking about being sober confident. We have 2 amazing women, Tani Laura and Kathy Vandenberg, who talk about dating, relating, and even, having sex sober, right? That's important. Yeah. So who else do we have? We have oh gosh, now I'm losing my train of thought. We have Michelle Black from Recovery is the New, or Michelle Smith from Recovery is the New Black. And she talks about, the movement of going into sobriety from the lens of someone who was stuck in mommy wine culture. And Ben Anderson from Over the Influence, he talks about, we have a great discussion on the future of sobriety and how it's now trending. Like it's
Yeah.
once you kind of dip your toe into this world, you look around and you realize, wow, not only was I not alone, I was really not alone. Like there are a lot of people doing this. And are we getting to the point where alcohol maybe someday soon will be like cigarettes? You know, I don't
Mm.
know. We'll see. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we have a jam-packed schedule. And so there's 24 interviews total, 8 a day. They're available for 24 hours to watch for free. So it's a free event. But if you want extended access to all the interviews, we have extended access to the interviews. We have a private podcast so you can listen to the interviews on the go. And then all the speakers, or some of the speakers, I should say, we're generous enough to throw in some incredible bonuses. So we have some courses, free memberships, books, guides. It's incredible. So we have over $400 worth of bonuses to help people jumpstart their sober journey.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah. I'm
And
super excited.
yeah, oh, you should be, because just listening to you, you can hear, the passion and the joy and the excitement. And I'm really delighted to be part of it. And it's just such an amazing lineup and a great place for people to get that inspiration, that motivation, to hear from other people what it's really like when you're sober and living your life to the full, I suppose, because that's, I think when you're not drinking, no matter what happens, you get a chance to really, really live your life. And I think that's a message that is still, I don't know, not 100% out there, because we're still as you said right at the start of this conversation, sobriety's still got a bit of a bad rap at times. It's like, oh, it's going to be boring, it's going to be dull, it's going to be difficult. I'm coming up to, as you know, 5 years of
Yeah,
sobriety, and
that's
I
incredible.
know, I know. And when I think back to before I quit, I couldn't even imagine a whole day, an afternoon, a weekend without alcohol. Who does that? And for me, it was the thought of not drinking that really put me off. And I wish I'd not listened to my own thoughts, because, as you know, quite the opposite is true. Um, so all the information and inspiration that you're providing in the summit will hopefully give people a little insight into what it's actually really like, and encourage people to give it a go. And I just want to ask you about the all access pass. Obviously, this podcast is going to go out in time just before the summit is made live. If somebody's listening to this in, I don't know, June or July, can they still get the all access pass?
That's a great question. My answer is yes. I'm going to
Okay.
say yes right now. Of course, everything can change, but I do want this to be available. So if somebody finds this down the road, yeah, I mean, the whole point of this is to give people resources, right? I
Yeah.
didn't, I wanted to do something in the sober world. Like I think everyone finds this, and of course you did, because you wouldn't have started Sober Bliss and this podcast if you hadn't. But
Mm,
you get to a point where you're going, this is so good, I need to do something with this. I need
yeah.
to help other people, and whatever that might be. It might be in your local community, it might be just within your family, it might be whatever it is.
Mm,
But I hit that and I'm going, yeah, I want to help somebody in some way. This is my way of helping somebody. If I can help one person
yeah.
understand that maybe their alcohol relationship is not the best
Mm,
and can think about what life would be like without alcohol, then I'm doing my job. So yes, I want it to be available in after the summit even plays out, because that's the whole point of this, is to help other people.
okay. Brilliant. Well, all the links will be in the show notes. So whenever you stumble across this podcast, then you should be able to get some support from it. Oh, I had a really good question then. I've forgotten what it
That's
was.
okay. And Gail, the I've enjoyed doing this so much. It has lit me up. Like
Yay.
this fills my tank, right? I've had so much fun doing it. Yes, I have been pushed outside my comfort zone. Doing
Mm.
these interviews has not
You've done a
been,
lot, Maggie. You really
I,
have.
but it's not my thing, right? Like I'm not, it's not really my thing to be doing interviews with people and,
Are
but
you
so anyway.
sure? You're doing an amazing job.
Oh, thank you. But I will say I've enjoyed doing this so much that I'm going to say when this does well and when this helps people, because I'm not
Yeah.
going to say it, um, that I want to do it again in November. So the
Hmm.
idea is that this would be an event that would happen twice a year, and it would be new and different every time. So we'd have different speakers, or at least different content, different themes of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if somebody hears this in July, and look out for it, because I'd love for this to be an ongoing thing. This has just been so much fun to put together, and I've been
Mm.
fangirling being able to meet, honestly, the people who have helped me get to where I am today, the books I've read, the podcasts I've listened to, the experts and the sober influencers I've followed on social media, to be on this side and to actually get to meet them and say thank you.
Yeah.
It's been incredible. So
Yeah. Oh. Oh, I'm so excited. So
it,
excited. It's going to be
it's
great.
it's going to be fun. We're going to have giveaways. We've got some amazing prizes. We're going to be playing some bingo in the Facebook group. So we're going to be having some fun. Again, this is grassroots. I am a mom of 3 in Virginia. I have a full-time job. This has
Mm.
just been a passion project of mine. So, I've been trying to do my best to bring this, to life in the most amazing way, but I'm one person. So, you
Oh,
know,
no, you're not. You're supported, absolutely supported by all of us, who've taken
yes.
part in our speakers. We're going to obviously support you as well. And just tell people how they can join in. How do we get to, listen to all of the speakers and get the all access pass and join the Facebook group? How do we do that?
Yeah, so Gail will have a link below in the show notes to thesobersummit.com. There you can register for your free ticket. You'll after you register for your free ticket, you will get the opportunity to buy the all access pass at a fast action, price, like the lowest price there will ever be. And then you'll have instant access. So even if you start before April 12th, you'll have access to all the interviews ahead of time,
Mm-hmm.
and all the bonus content ahead of time as well. If you buy it afterwards, again, you'll have a login that you can go and start listening to and watching all the interviews. Yeah, and then you also get an email from me with links to the Facebook page. We also have a virtual goodie bag. So we've had some incredible sponsors and brands come to the table with discounts specifically for our attendees on some amazing products. And some of our speakers have contributed to that as well. So we'll have a virtual goodie bag for everyone who attends. You'll be able to download your bingo card. All that will be in emails from me, so that you can join in and head over to the Facebook group and start sharing your story if you feel comfortable with it, or just sit back and watch and listen to everybody else. But yeah, hopefully we'll have an engaging group, and
Yeah.
the speakers will be in there, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. It'll be action packed for 3 days. But again, the purpose of the all access pass is so people don't stress over having to consume all that content
Mm.
in three
Yeah.
days. They can take their time, especially because I realize that people are going to be at different points in their journey. And
Yeah.
some of these topics are going to resonate with you today, where other ones are going to resonate with you in a few months from now. Right. So I want to be cognizant of where people are at in their journey as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So with the all access pass, then you've got it for as long as you need it, basically, and you can use the
To
resources
have it
to help
for the
you
next year.
for the
Yeah, so
next
it'll be
year.
available for the next year. So yeah, within the next year, you can listen to that content whenever you like. And so yeah, if you're just starting out and you want to just learn about the effects of alcohol on your body, then start with the first 8. If you're farther in your journey, then maybe you start with your first the last 8, where you talk about how to fit into society and how to use your new superpower of sobriety right?
Mm.
Because again, I think the other important thing is once you get to a certain point in your journey, you become a lighthouse for other people.
Yeah.
Just doing what you're doing, you're making a difference. Then I want people to know that. Like, people are watching what you're doing. You don't have to sing about it. You don't have to be preaching about it, but just being you and just doing what you're doing. I kid you not, people are watching. So
Yeah, they are. They are. Um, okay, so just remind us again, Maggie, when is the Sober Summit? When does it start?
yeah, so it starts April 12th.
Yep.
That's day one, and goes to the 14th. So it's a 3-day event. Registration opens up as of when you're hearing this. So you
Yeah.
can go ahead and go get your free ticket. And if you're hearing this later, then yes, go check out. You can still go to thesobersummit.com and still get access to all the interviews through the All Access Pass.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And just before you go, what is, and this is a difficult question, I know, because there's so many amazing things, but what is for you, Maggie, the best thing about living an alcohol-free lifestyle?
Okay. Well, I have, can I answer this in two ways?
Of course.
One is the physical, right? I find the physical benefits to be just not worth the 20 minutes of consuming alcohol, right? You get that dopamine hit when you consume alcohol, and it lasts for about 20 minutes. The benefits that I've seen from not drinking, right? Better sleep, clear head, that brain fog went away that I had for years. And I just called it mom, the mom brain, but it,
Mm,
alcohol was it. I mean, that was a big part of it. That went away, just being able to think clear. So there's the physical benefits of removing alcohol. But one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to remove alcohol was not just for myself, but for my family. And I
yeah.
get teary-eyed thinking about it. But I watched my daughter, who at the time was only 5, and then I had a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, right, at the
Wow.
time, and they knew what alcohol was,
Mm,
and whether I knew it or not, or whether they knew it or not, I should say, I was educating them on what mommies and daddies do at night, how to deal with stress, how to deal with my emotions. This is the way you do it, right?
mm,
This is how I get through bedtime. This is how I treat myself. This is how I deal with a stressful day. Whether I knew it at the time or not, I was showing them and teaching them that alcohol was the way to do that. And
yeah.
so one of my biggest reasons for removing alcohol was I wanted to tell a different story. I wanted my kids to know that it's okay to feel your feelings. You don't have to numb them. It's
Mm,
okay to talk about your feelings. You don't have to hide away. And when you're celebrating, there are so many other ways to celebrate your day, to commiserate your day, right? There's so many other ways to do self-care that
mm,
don't involve consuming a toxin.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that to me has been one of the biggest benefits. Is I don't think my kids realize it now what's going on, right? Like but one day they're going to turn around and be like, yeah, my mom didn't drink when growing up. She just didn't. So
Mm.
one day I'll reap the benefits one day when my kids tell me how proud they are of me. Right now they're too young, but one day it'll
Oh.
happen.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they are already. They'll notice a difference. I don't think kids miss those kind of little
They don't.
signals. No,
Yeah.
I remember when I stopped drinking, my kids noticed pretty quickly because the atmosphere in the house went from quite high stress up
Yeah.
here to a lot calmer and quieter. Um, so I would just do it for that alone because, it's much easier to be a parent when things are calm and quiet and nothing happens. That's actually a pretty good thing to have a quite calm household with little ones
It's
running
amazing.
around.
It is amazing. And I think my oldest daughter has realized, I mean, there's still times where I get stressed out and there's still times where I overreact or get upset.
Of
But
course.
I have noticed I'm much calmer with my kids now. I'll I'll step down to their level and I'll talk to them when they're
Mm.
upset, so that, versus like joining in on their tantrum, which was what was happening, right? Like they would get upset and I'd automatically be upset that they're upset, just
Yeah.
that's what was happening in our household. And now I feel like I can recognize my own feelings when and my own stresses and realize, okay, I just need to take a deep breath, or step away for 5 minutes and come back, or just I have more empathy for my kids,
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
than I did before. Alcohol just didn't, like, it just consumed me so much that I didn't have that empathy for them. Now I feel like I care more about them. Not that I didn't care about them before, but like on a different level.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
feel like I care for them better, and I'm more at their level than I was before. Before I
Yeah.
was too consumed in myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Honest.
can relate. I can relate. There's just so many great reasons to give it a go, even if the thought of never drinking again is too big and scary. Of course it is. But just with the help of your wonderful Sober Summit, just try, just give it a go, dip your toe in and see what happens. I'm really excited. It's going to be great.
I'm so excited. And I will say to anybody who is just thinking about removing alcohol, I would I would challenge them to ask themselves, you know what life is like with it, but do you know what life is like without it?
Yeah.
And if you don't know what life is like truly without it, then I think it's worth seeing
Mm,
what it could be.
definitely. Definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been so good. I'm really excited for the summit. I really am.
Thank you.